On today's Fellowship of the Rink, Joe Smith and Mike Russo of The Athletic jump in, talk about the latest Minnesota Wild road trip to kick off December, talk about the Kiefer Sherwood interest from Belgarin, Danila Yurov's development, 11 players that might be representing their countries in the upcoming Winter Olympics, and much more. Spoke Z, now a mainstay on the show, at least for the time being, comes to talk about the latest Gopher series against Ohio State, a little bit of World Juniors, and just what we can expect long-term from this Gopher squad. This episode of Fellowship of the Rink is brought to you, as always, by our good friends in Waggle Golf and Zambonis on 7th. Nothing better than supporting local. We got the holidays upon us. Go to getyourwaggleon.com. Make sure you throw in that promo code SP10, take 10% off your entire order. Get those gifts, whether it's hats, polos, quarter zips, you name it. And Zambonis on 7th, we have some games coming up here on the weekend. We've got a 1 p.m. Saturday home game, a 5 p.m. Sunday. Everyone should be hitting up Zambonis on 7th all weekend for the festivities, pre-game, during game, post-game, whenever. Enjoy the show. Joe Smith, we got Mike Russo of The Athletic here Monday morning before the matchup with the Seattle Kraken to end the road trip. Guys, we just had the best November we could have really asked for. What are our early thoughts here with this road trip to kick off December?
Well, I think it started off well in Edmonton, right? It felt like they were, bounced back from the disappointing Sabres loss the night before. A couple days before, but it really went off the rails a bit in Calgary. That was kind of a rare clunker for the team. They really had nothing that game, and against Vancouver they were a little bit better. But the big picture thing is you lost to three of the worst teams in the league in the last week, right? And you're still having trouble secondary scoring, which has been an issue at times when Kirill and Boldy aren't going. So I think Nico Sturm, put it one way where the days are over, where you just say this is an easy win, or this is an easy win, or this is a hard team because it's a parity. It's been so big in this league, but it was still Vancouver on a back-to-back, and they had no Pettersson and everything. And so you would think they would be able to find a way to win that game. But I don't think it's sounding alarms right now, but it definitely is something that should get their attention heading into the rest of this month here.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I do think that, I was a little surprised at how positive they were after the Vancouver game. But, again, you look at the analytics, and I guess they had reason to be. My biggest concern with that game is that bad habits were creeping in. They just got way too cute in the first period. And that stuff always comes back to haunt this team because they don't have the secondary scoring to make up for it, usually in the second and third periods. And, they were overpassing and trying to do, cutesy plays. And, this team, if November showed anything, because they weren't scoring a ton in November either, it's that they got to play a direct brand of hockey. But to Joe's point, what concerns me right now is just the absolute lack of scoring on this team by everybody, not named Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Boldy. Everybody. They have almost half the team's goals. And, Ryan Hartman scored twice since opening night. Marcus Foligno didn't have a goal upon him getting hurt. Joel Eriksson only has 4 goals this year, and it sure looks like, while he's still a big menace on the net front and as good a shutdown center as there is in the league, it does feel like the abuse that he's taken over the years has caught up to him offensively, and he's just not getting the areas to really create as much as we've seen. And he's playing with a couple guys that produce points. So, that would be concerning to me. The fourth line is sometimes unplayable. Certainly don't give anything offensively, and that's a problem. Yakov Trenyan's their leading scorer in the last 4 games, points-wise. So it's just, that's the area. Obviously, Marco Rossi's hurt. I do think this team is not the same whenever Foligno's out of the lineup. Hinestroza was playing well, but this is why Bill Guerin, from the beginning of the year, has said that he wants to go big game hunting, and that's why Chris Kelleher, their assistant GM, is starting 3 days of pro scouting meetings today. And then I do think the Wild are going to try, especially if losses do mount here, to be aggressive here and makes moves in a league where there's just no trades that are ever made ever in this league. There has not been a substantive move in the NHL since July, essentially. And that was Dakota Joshua. So, it is hard to make a league trade right now.
Well, and I wonder too, like, I know he wants to go big game hunting. I think they've needed a scoring winger since July 1, but like, who's out there really? Yeah. I think like, you look at the trade board that our colleague Chris Johnston does, right? There are some names out there. I think the name that surfaced more with the Wild is Sherwood with Vancouver, and he's an effective player. Does he answer the question for secondary scoring?
Zamboni's on 7th Restaurant and Bar at 174 West 7th Street, right across the street from Grand Casino Arena. We're going to keep calling it the X. More than just your go-to spot before, during, and after all your favorite downtown events, Zamboni's on 7th is now your spot for late night downtown eats. On game days, event days, and plain old regular days, Tuesday through Saturday. Zamboni's on 7th is now serving their delicious tavern-style pizza, as well as fried specialties late into the night. Check out their menu online at zambonison7th.com or stop by for a few beers, cocktails, or sodas and dig in. Zamboni's on 7th. Before, during, and after. Way after.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe he does. It can't hurt, I guess. He got off with 12 goals in the first 20 games, but I think he's come back to reality here. I did like him the other night. He's a bit of a hothead, though. Which
you get along well. You would get along.
Yeah, exactly. on a team that has been extremely disciplined this year, that would be my only issue with bringing him in. But it does seem like this is the type of player that they always go after. It's the Justin Brazos and the the Yakov Trenyans of the world, and aim higher. And for a team that doesn't have a lot of trade assets because they don't have a lot of guys that they can move on their NHL roster or that they would want to move. If you like we saw in the Juracek deal, if you all of a sudden start throwing young assets away in this type of trade, it could potentially take you out of something later in the season because you've traded your first round pick or your a prospect like a Liam Ogren or something like that. So I think that unless they sustain more and more injuries here, they obviously know when Marcus Foligno is going to be back and when Hinestroza is going to be back. But I do think that they should be a little careful here on this one.
Well, could also in the whole idea, which we wrote before when the sky was falling, right? Like it falls on the best trade they can make is their own guys producing. And you have a number of guys on this team that have been able to produce before. Johansson was hot at the start of the year. You have guys like Foligno is not a guy who usually doesn't score in 24, 25 games. Like he'll chip in here and there. Ryan Hartman has the pedigree of having scoring. So, if the power play struggle was just doing right now and they're not getting other scoring, then they're going to be putting a lot of their goaltenders to win them games, which they have before. But there's bound to be a regression to the mean here where Wallstedt, won't necessarily have 4 goals like the other night, but if you give up 1 or 2 goals, you give yourself a chance to win.
They've definitely put a lot of pressure on their goalies. They never practice, so I think that doesn't keep your goalies sharp, even though you're saying they're fresh because you're alternating them. I've never seen a team go on a 4-game trip where they don't practice once. That's crazy to me. I get that their rest is a weapon, and they're this has been a tough travel where they've had a couple ridiculous flight issues. One where they had to fly in a plane from Seattle, another where they had to fly in a flight to Calgary. But those practices were canceled before those, so they were never practicing on this trip. So I think that hurts you too. You can't get all your work done in a 20-minute morning skate. It's just it makes no sense to me. Plus you're in a hotel all day. Sometimes it's nice to just go to the rink and suit up for 30 minutes.
It's only like an hour or 2 out of your day. And like I saw after the skate in Vancouver, like Kirill and Zuccarello were on the ice for like 25 minutes after the skate, right? They were out there working on stuff, like some guys, I think some guys like the idea of going to the rink, even if it's an optional or whatever like that, just to kind of get the routine or do the work out there or whatever. I know they have activation stuff now, right? Or kind of things, but it does a very, I know there's some skates that can be unnecessary, but I think overall practices in a league where you can do very little teaching and sometimes is very important. So next on Friday, there'll be a practice. So look forward to 5 days from now. There'll be a practice for the Minnesota Wild.
Well, you'll be there.
Yeah, I will. I would not miss it for the world, Mike. Not miss it for the world. A guy we talked to the other night after the Vancouver game is Tarasenko. He came back after missing 7 games due to injuries, played in 4. I believe he's had 5 shots on goal in that span, no points. Clearly fighting it. The chances he had the other night in Vancouver, third period, the perfect pass by Ryan Hartman in front, couldn't get a stick on it. Another one, a one-timer, he couldn't really get a full throttle on that one. So I wonder what's next for him. I mean, they can see if he can work himself out of this a little bit, because they signed him with the idea, or traded for him with the idea that at a buy low situation, you could maybe get maybe 15 goals, 16 goals out of a guy like that would be okay, but now he's at 2 in the first 23. I guess what do you see in Tarasenko, and like what could they do, I guess, to get something out of here?
Yeah, I mean, other than praying he gets out of it, I don't know, because the analytics say it all. I mean, he's any line he's on, he's cratering it, and it's just that simple, and he's not producing nearly enough to make up for that. Look, I watched him in Florida. They tried to act like he was a huge piece of that Stanley Cup team. We saw what Brad Marchand was able to do with Listerinen and Lindell, and we saw what he was able to do with Listerinen and Lindell, and he had one good playoff round in that entire series. And then in Detroit the last couple of years, he was not good at all. And, this is not just an imagination. Sometimes they think that guys are just going to magically, turn into the player that they expect them to be, and become a renaissance man. But this has been the player that we've seen the last couple of years. So I think it's a major problem. And I do think there's going to come a point, if he continues to play like this, that it's going to come to head. First of all, they're going to get bodies back, like Hinostroza, Foligno, and Rossi. And so at some point they're going to have to, you can only go, further down the lineup so far. And he's obviously not a fourth liner. So, I covered Peter Sikora here, many, many, many eons ago. And I remember I was in Salt Lake City once, flying through, going down to Phoenix. And Alan Walsh called me up and just annihilated, who was the coach at the time? Was it Todd Richards? It was either Todd Richards. It was about his ice time, and I had in the lobby of the hotel when I got there, I had to get his response to that. Can't remember if it was Yo or Richards, and it just continued to go nowhere. And finally, at the end of January, they had a mutual termination, and he just, I think, re-signed in Jersey or went back to Europe, or it just was not going well. So, I mean, that's where I could see this going, is that at some point here, Bill Guerin's going to have to get on the horn with Pat Brisson and work out something, whether it's finding him a home somewhere else, which I can't imagine there's a lot of teams that would want him, and he would have to waive. Again, the Wild had Detroit wanted to make a move so badly that they traded him for future consideration. So you're either going to have to do that, there's going to have to be maybe a mutual termination where he walks away, which I doubt that. It becomes more complicated with Detroit retaining money, so I don't even know if it's doable. Or the other option is just at some point maybe place him on waivers, and then you make a decision from there. The Wild once had Kyle Quincy around Thanksgiving, went to St. Louis, he was like -3, went to Winnipeg, he was -3. Wild put him on waivers. They plucked Nate Prosser back off waivers to replace him, and basically told Kyle to go home, that he didn't even have to go to Iowa, and just paid him the rest of the season. So there's going to come a point where this becomes an issue. I mean, it's to me, it's up to Vlad. They've done everything to give him the opportunity to be good this year. But really, clearly, the guy that we saw that looked so good in those scrimmages in training camp, it just shows why those are scrimmages in training camp. He's playing minor leaguers and a mix of minor leaguers and NHLers, and there's no checking. And, sometimes there's checking. I think Stevie Lescovar wishes there was no checking. But Foligno broke his wrist, so That's why I made that joke. But, I mean, it's just not the same player, and it's a major issue.
Yeah, and they've done everything they possibly could, right? I remember Hines flew to Florida and had that long 5-hour dinner with Tarasenko in the summertime to get to know him, get to see what he needs or make him a better player, get the most out of him. And Hines, every time we ask guys about the other day, and he's very positive and publicly on Tarasenko and all the little things he does, and he's a smart player and he does these things behind the scenes, and you can tell why he's a pro. And I understand all that. I think there's obviously value to him as a person and as a player. I just think that when a team that's starving for scoring right now, like they need something's got to give at some particular point, and perhaps he steps out of it. Maybe he gets some sort of run here or whatever like that. But there haven't been nights where you're like, oh, he had 4 chances tonight. He just due for a goal. I really haven't seen that.
When you play it as poorly as him, you got to catch that puck by Hartnett. I mean, that's a 1-goal game in the third period. And I do think Jon is trying to treat him with kid gloves because he's a complicated guy. It didn't end well in St. Louis. It didn't end well in Detroit. A lot of it's because he doesn't like where his usage is in the lineup or things like that. And so I think that Jon's well aware. I remember Jon saying about that one big thing that he met with Tarasenko about in Florida was why Tarasenko thought things didn't go well in certain places or how he likes to be used or his relationship with the coach. So when you have somebody that has that type of history, I think that you try to, make sure that you do everything possible not to slaughter him publicly. But there's just going to come a point where, look, I mean, this team was rolling. They were 7-0, and they've been a different team since he's returned to the lineup. That's just a fact. Whether it's a coincidence or not, we don't know. But the analytics sure don't look that way, and the actual real stats certainly don't look that way.
And the other guy that I feel like it's been a different conversation every time we've had you on the past couple of months, Mike, but Danila Yurov is a guy that's going to be interesting to watch here as people get healthy. It's kind of become the auto reply for you guys in all the online discourse of like, will we ever actually be healthy? Will someone else just get hurt? But like a fully healthy squad, where do you see Danila Yurov slotting in long-term this season? This interview is brought to you by our friends at Waggle Golf. Waggle Golf believes what you wear on the course should reflect your individuality, who you are, where you're from, your hobbies, interests, and passions. All the stuff that makes you, well, you. That's why every design is inspired by the desire to create a piece of apparel that strikes a chord when you see it. That makes you say, wow, that was made for me. Because in a lot of ways, it was. Ready to get your waggle on? Go to getyourwaggleon.com, throw in promo code SP10 at checkout to take 10% off your entire order.
I don't know. I mean, it depends who they trade for, if they trade for somebody. I mean, Johansson's obviously started to quiet down, but I don't think that, they're at a point at all where they would break up that line. And obviously Zuccarello and Kaprizov are healthy. And your Rossi's healthy. He's at a minimum now going to be third line or lower. But if Foligno's back, it really depends. Could he be third line center? I think it's very clear to Joe and myself right now that Ryan Hartman's in the doghouse. I mean, you don't get much lower than fourth line center. He played there the other night. They did try to move him up at times. That fourth line the other night was creating chances. So that's the best Liam Ogren, I think, has looked in a while because he probably had an NHL quality center to his right, as opposed to who he normally has on his right. So I do think that most likely he's going to be on the third line. And the question is he left wing, right wing, center? A lot will depend on Foligno back and things like that. But I think they'd like to get him at least in the top 9.
And I think it's a good thing. I mean, even though it's a small sample size, it's a good thing for the organization to know that, hey, Yurov can play in this spot, that he can hold his own with Kaprizov and Zuccarello. If you're thinking big picture, long term with your roster, it's good to know that. They might not have known that if Rossi not got injured. Give him that chance. I don't think he got that top line role had Rossi not got injured. So I think,
and that is how it works. I mean, I know fans like guys to just be anointed and put there, but you need opportunity. And then when you get that opportunity, you better take advantage of it quick because that guy is eventually going to come back to the lineup. And that's what Liam Ogren has not done yet, is he's had the opportunity. He was playing third line left wing for a while. throughout camp, he was on the second line, and he just hasn't taken advantage of it. So next time he gets that opportunity, he better, if he gets that opportunity, because I think that, Joe and I have a sense that he might have been the player that the Wild talked about in the Sherwood trade so far with Vancouver. So, who knows what his future is, if it's here or elsewhere. But I love that that Yurov's taken advantage of it. Rossi did as well when he eventually came back from the minors and had that opportunity. And that's what you got to do. You only get so many. There's been a lot of great players that had to spend their entire careers in the AHL because they never either got that chance or took advantage of that opportunity. So Liam's got to do that. But back to Yurov, what I love about him is just, remember the biggest issue that John Hines had with him in training camp was board battles, because it's a smaller rink, it's different than KHL. And that's the area where I just think that he has done such a much better job. You could just see him battle and win his battles. Sometimes he still makes mistakes. He had the turnover there that led to the big time odd man rush. I think it was against Buffalo. That cost the Wild in that game. And then the other night in Vancouver, he made such a smart play on that one play where he breaks his stick. He gets Zuccarello to cover for him. He goes to the bench, gets a new stick. So he was smart enough to get Zuccarello to come and support. And then he gets that new stick. He comes on and he takes
pinches.
A terrible pinch, loses his stick. And then it's just, a goal against from there that obviously Wally should have stopped. But so there's going to still be mistakes. Everybody makes them. Look at defensemen, right? I mean, these guys play 25 to 30 shifts a game, and we all expect it to go perfect. It's not feasible.
In this week's Insider, Mike talked about the Olympics, and it could be like almost half the team joining you in Milan. Come to the Minnesota Wild Europe version over there. But we thought there'd be a number of guys that would go, just the big names that we watch all the time. But like, who are some other guys like on the bubble, or who are the guys that maybe we didn't have on the initial list that are going to be going?
Yeah, I mean, look, they could have up to 11 guys. Somebody tweeted me today, Spurgeon. Spurgeon's playing well lately, but he's not making Team Canada for the Olympics. But yeah, no, they could have up to 11 guys. 3 of them are minor leaguers. David Juracek and David Spacek are almost certainly going to be there. Spacek, definitely. I mean, These guys played so well for their Team Czechia coach at the Worlds in the last couple of years. He's always great on the international stage. Juracek, I can't imagine that they're not going to take also. Remember, the Czechs only have 2 NHL defensemen in Hronek and Ratko Gudas, so I got to think that Juracek's there. And then Sam Hlavaj is Slovakia's number 1 in the Olympics. I mean, he went 3-0 with like a ridiculous goals against and save percentage in the Olympic qualifiers a couple years ago. And actually, I was right around there at the time covering it. I can't remember where it was, but I was right there in Prague, I think, for the NHL media tour, and I was thinking about trying to make it down there, and I just couldn't do it. And then obviously, so you got Boldy and Faber 100% going to be on the American team. Eriksson, Brodin, and Gustafsson, Joe and I are assuming, are 100% for the Team Sweden team. Nico Sturm is the only Wild player that's already selected for Team Germany. Then I mentioned the 3. So the question is, where do they go from there? Does Jesper Wallstedt have a spot? We did independently confirm yesterday that he was registered this summer, even though I don't know if Jesper even knows that, because he has kept on telling Joe and I that he has never heard a word from the Swedish Olympic team and definitely isn't in the drug testing protocol. So that might be a surprise to Jesper that he is at least in the mix. The question is, he said to me the other day before they left for the road trip, the body of work is in his mind big, and he can't see himself making the team over Gus or Allmark or Markstrom. But Allmark and Markstrom have not been very good. And if you're going to go with the best Swedish goalie right now, it's Jesper. So we'll see where that goes. And then Marcus Johansson, they're going to have to make a decision. Do you take the veteran that has a long history with Team Sweden, or do you take like a William Eklund or, a young guy that's got a long future with Team Sweden? Marcus has been great this year for the Wild. Sam Ullum, their coach, has always talked really well about Marcus Johansson, and he's been probably their best forward in the last 2 World Championships. So, it was actually Bill Guerin that pointed out to me that Marcus has got a really good shot. And when I started looking into it, I think that there's something to it, and maybe Billy just knows that he's definitely on the radar. But could you imagine if they have 11 guys? That's crazy. That might be, I mean, I try to even like Vegas and Colorado and teams like that. I don't think have that many.
Yeah, and I know you asked Bill about this, but you saw the injuries that came out of the Four Nations.
Yeah.
You saw how physical and fast that tournament is, and it'll be obviously 3 feet smaller ice surface now going into Milan. That we wrote last week about that dimensions there. I guess nothing. I mean, nothing. He's not going to say that he's worried that they're going to get injured. He wants them to all go, but there's still a realistic big picture concern here with how well these guys play and how hard they play, that you could have some lingering effects with your team.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, Billy's like, he's not worrying about this stuff, and really, what can he do? These guys are there or they're not there, right? I mean, so he's like, he basically was saying that I spend too much time worrying, which, there's a reason why I have no fingernails and no hair. So he's not wrong about that. Where I'd be more concerned is fatigue, because we saw a lot of teams, including the Wild, that had a bunch of guys at the Four Nations last year come back and really had trouble getting started again. Edmonton, Detroit. I remember talking to Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond about just how much it took for them to get going. And the Wild obviously struggled throughout the month of March. And Eriksson Ek came back with a broken leg, essentially. And clearly Brodin didn't come back the healthiest as well. And there's a fatigue factor. Remember, Boldy wasn't great right after the Four Nations. And this is going to be a lot more games with a lot more practices than we saw in Boston and Montreal. So we'll see where it goes. The one thing that Billy made very clear is that if something happens, if somebody gets hurt, they'll react to it. They come back from Milan. I think the gold medal game is like the 22nd or 23rd. And then they come back from Milan, and March 6th is the trade deadline. So there's always going to be the ability to react if something, God forbid, happens. The good news is that Kirill Kaprizov will get to rest throughout the break, and unfortunately, Norway and Austria didn't qualify, or the Wild could have 14 guys there. I mean, it's crazy. Right?
Yeah, you got that many guys, and your whole first line is not part of that. And we don't have to wrap here by any means, but I do have to stem off of that for our Waggle Golf question this week, guys. Final question brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Waggle Golf. First, make sure you head over to getyourwaggleon.com, throw in promo code SP10 to take 10% off your entire order. All the holiday gifts, hats, quarter zips, polos, hoodies, vests, they've got it all. I want to hear what both of you thought about the Team USA Jon Hamm promo.
I liked it. I've actually had it for a couple days, which is why I was able to. I didn't realize. So the embargo was lifted at 8:10 yesterday. So I tweeted it out, and I always kind of wondered. I'm like, how would they know the exact time that it was going to be on Sunday Night Football? Because obviously you never know when the TV timeouts are coming. And then I realized very quickly that I beat them to the punch by 25 minutes.
Oh my God.
One, I got an email, and two, all of a sudden at like 8:30 something, all of a sudden I saw my Twitter account. I was wondering why I was getting no reaction. Like, here's the Sunday night thing.
Yeah.
So I loved it. First of all, I like Jon Hamm. I've gotten to meet him a couple times. The 2 times I've met him, I've made the joke to him, because obviously he's been in everything, right? But I made the joke to him that, nobody's been better in Curb Your Enthusiasm than you. And he loves that because nobody ever brings up Curb to him. So I love him. And then I just thought it was funny, the Canadian tears, and Eichel was hilarious in it. Although Eichel, for some reason, they forgot him in the press release. But yeah, Quinn Hughes is in it. We actually see Quinn smiling, which is, his
crazy.
His resting face is usually a unhappiness. So that was fun. And obviously the Kachucks and Charlie McAvoy is in there, who's, basically Brock Faber's doppelganger. So that was a good commercial. I don't know. What do you think of it?
I thought it was great. I thought it was. I mean, I just thought it was funny with the highlights from the Four Nations in the fight. Like, what happened? And they show the highlights from the fights and stuff like that. Like, can we just hug it out, guys? No.
Yeah.
But I hope they do more of that stuff. I think
there is. I got a list of all their promos, and there's,
nice.
There's, I could read them to you actually. There's a couple more with USA Hockey, if you care.
Any with Faber or Boldy in it?
One with Ray Romano and Sebastian Maniscalco. There's Glenn Powell and speed skater Jordan Stolz, Scarlett Johansson, and hopefully I'm allowed to say this, and Lindsey Vonn, who I know Joe knows well, Cynthia Erivo, and curlers So Cynthia, I clearly got that name wrong, and I'm sure everybody knows who she is. Curlers Corey Dropkin and Corey Deese. I'm embarrassing myself right now. Ariana Grande, who I watched get hit by a puck once as a kid at a Panthers game. And there's a couple others that I'm not even going to try to pronounce their names. So
is that like well known? I had no idea that Ariana Grande, 1, went to a Panthers game, 2, got hit with a puck in the process.
Yeah. And then actually I could find my article from the time. Like obviously having no idea that she was going to be a famous pop star, but she gets hit by a puck, and then she rode the Zamboni with her mom as like sort of like a sorry at like a game 2 or 3 later. So if you look this up, you'll actually find my byline on it. The Sun Sentinel at the time. Pretty funny. Yeah.
Sorry you got hit by a puck.
Yeah.
Have a Zamboni ride.
It was like in 98 or 99.
That's
crazy.
Yeah. She's from Boca, where I'm from. So I hope I was allowed to read all that.
You can just message me sometime later today if that's not the case.
We can edit that part out, or at least some of the part out. At least we know that commercial was live by the time this podcast goes up on Wednesday.
Kidding. I love my reaction was the same as Jon Hamm's. Like I was not ready for that. I was just like, oh yeah, he's gonna say it's all about winning gold and about your country. Wait, what? Canadian Tears? Okay.
Yeah, I just can't imagine that NBC would send me that list if I wasn't allowed to rate it. So go with it.
Ignorance is bliss sometimes, you know. It's good for the it's good for the game. The promotion's good.
Who's listening to the Fellowship of the Rink podcast?
Right.
Anyway?
Yeah.
2 people are going to go crazy with this.
Yeah. No, but any more questions, Scott? I think I'm good. But you know,
my one question, I guess, and this doesn't have to go too deep, but if guys like say a Juracek, a Spacek, you know, they go and have really big Olympic performances, do GMs put a lot of stock into that, or do they kind of separate and categorize that differently?
No, I think so. I remember in '98 when Yaroslav Spacek went to Nagano and had an unbelievable freaking tournament, and it was a huge reason why he wound up in the NHL. So, and a long career in the NHL. I covered him in Florida. You know, I do think so. I mean, you see it all the time. One reason why Sam Halava is a member of the Wild is because of how good he's been on the international stage in the World Championships and things like that. So I absolutely think that there's a chance of that. And so actually, you know, it's a great point, Scott. Like, I think that, you know, like if the Wild ever wanted to trade a Spacek or Juracek, this is a good way for them to showcase themselves. Same thing with Halavai. Like, Halavai is going to be a free agent, I think, after this year. And, you know, I can't imagine, even if the Wild wanted him back, and I can't imagine that they will right now, the way that he's played down in Iowa. But, like, look, I mean, you know, this guy's got to showcase himself. And I can't imagine he's going to want to come back to Minnesota when he's just saw Gustafsson sign for long term, and he knows that Jesper Wallstedt's now the probably future here. So he's got no chance of being an NHLer here. So this is a great way for him to showcase himself. Sounds like a good insider. Great story idea, Scott. Thank you.
They like a spot check, I think, too. I mean, especially a guy who probably doesn't think he has a spot here in the blue line with the Wild. Like, I think he'd be a great, you know, if they don't keep him, a great trade chip, you know.
I wish he asked this question yesterday. I would have thrown this in today's insider. Would have been perfect for those little capsules.
Yeah. We can save it for a couple weeks from now when we're.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But
back pocket.
Off day story while I'm in Milan. Actually, there's gonna be no off days. So
you'll be covering women's hockey then. You don't have any off days.
That's true.
Milan, so, well, thanks again for joining us. I will see you, I guess, in a week or so, depending on the schedule. So I will see you before Christmas, I think.
Yeah. Wild fans are not going to like my tweets in the next 5 days because I'm going to be at 2 rivalry series games and an Edmonton Oilers Sabres game and an Edmonton Oilers Red Wings game. So I'm going to be like, people are going to be so confused with all of a sudden I'm like, Patrick Kane just scored.
Yeah. So. I think Zuccarello is going to give you so much crap when you get back.
Oh, it's ridiculous. He knows my schedule better than me.
So. Well, I was in the room the other day, and he was like, Smitty. I'm like, what? He goes, are you tweeting something? I'm like, no, I was messaging Russo. He goes, don't message Russo. He's not on the trip. Just because he wants all the good trips, you know, blah, 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 blah. He's not here.
He did point that out to me last time I saw him, that he goes, you going on this trip? And I said, no. He goes, that's shocker. Edmonton, Vancouver, Calgary, and Seattle. So, you know, I'm like, please. Like, Joe's gotten both New York trips. He's getting the Florida trip. who wouldn't want to go to Vancouver and see? And I'm going to Edmonton for 5 days here in the middle of December. So
yeah, I think he's got it all wrong. I think this is a pretty good trip actually. But
yeah.
anyways, but yes, you will eventually be back on the road, and he will see your face a lot of times coming up, especially in the California Vegas trip. So
yeah.
But thanks again, and we will do it again sometime soon.
All right. Yep.
Sundays are fun days at Zamboni's on 7th Restaurant and Bar. They love hockey, they love St. Paul, and they love bingo. Their charitable gambling sponsors are St. Paul Capitals Youth Hockey, and they've partnered with them for Sunday bingo with great cash prizes, including a $1,000 coverall game. Take advantage of free street parking on Sundays and stop in for great food and drink, cash prizes, and of course, THC raffles during Zamboni's on 7th, Wake and Bake, and Smash Mouth Pizza Brunch Bingo Sundays. Come get it. Now, go for hockey. Go for hockey. First half of the season comes to a close officially after. See, I already told you before we started recording, but it breaks my brain way more than it should when it's a Thursday, Friday slate instead of it being Friday, Saturday. Like, I feel like I've already forgotten so much because of the 1 day difference.
It borderline ruins my weekend. Like for about 15, 20 minutes, I do have an existential crisis where I'm like, I don't know what day of the week it is anymore. I don't know. I'm not really sure where I am. I don't like them. I really don't like. I strongly oppose Thursday. The only good thing is the fact that you have like a big college game on Thursday to watch. But like,
well, and reverse existential crisis, I guess, because like you're getting a day back. Like you get through that Friday night game and you're like, oh fuck, tomorrow's Sunday. Oh no, it's Saturday. Hey, no, I don't know, very weird, and especially with it being like off the Eastern time zone too. It was a 6:30 and a 5 o'clock start here local for Minnesotans, so that I watched as much of the games as I could before having to go back and rewatch some of it because, well, dealing with kids is just so fun. It was a weird weekend. The Friday game being the second game, as I'll keep reminding myself and everyone listening, was a weird one in the sense of like, usually there's some ebb and some flow to games. Usually you trade chances, go back and forth, do a bit of the middle zone jousting. Whether or not there's 3 feet removed to Judd's Buds, if you want to hear that rant. We haven't even had it yet. I just know it's going to happen. But this is a game where I feel like both teams went on like 5 to 10 minute runs of just bludgeoning the other one. And it was a little game of chicken where it's like, can I hold you to 1 goal over that stretch? Or are you going to just piss pound me for 3 of them? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it felt like the ice was only tilted. Like it was going one way, but it was never at no point were they trading chances. It was just like, I will be on top for 5 minutes. And then if you feel like figuring it out a little bit, that'll happen. I did think again, like when third period starts and then, in that first 10 minutes, I thought they pretty much controlled the first half of that third period. And then, when they get that, like obviously Jimmy Clark scores a beauty on the wraparound. And then just a few minutes later, Brody Zemer puts him up. What was that, 5-4 at that point? You're kind of hoping, this has been a common thing. You're hoping to see the defense lock down a little bit. And I mean, for the most part, it was all right, but they were still bleeding chances and a couple of big mistakes throughout the game anyways. And obviously the last one. I mean, it was also I thought it might be, hopefully it's a minute and a half or 2 minutes later that they immediately give up the tying goal. But it was obviously disappointing, but to a certain extent, it was a chaotic but very fun game for a lot of reasons. But
if you're a neutral observer, it was a very fun game.
Yeah, right.
For me, it was a weird roller coaster where you want roller coasters to go up and down, not up. Let's just cruise for a while, crash down, cruise for a while.
The one thing too that I'll say about just the fact that it was that way, where it was 5 minutes traded chances, or not trading chances, just absorbing. then take the road chances. Watching like LJ Moody in a 7-minute span where Minnesota's just dominating is very fun. Like he is like, I am going to have the puck the entire time. And he made, once again, every time we talk about it, we say the same thing. Like at least 5 or 6 times a game, he does go Sports Center top 10 mode. And again, some of the passes he's pulling off both games were just ridiculous. But specifically when you have like a 5, 6, 7-minute span where Minnesota's rolling, he's usually on the ice for like half of the time. And it's just like he has the puck the whole time. He's out there. It's great.
Well, and I think the real question now is, who do you throw between him and Zemer? Because we tried to reverse jinx it last week. You asked me which player I want to nag on to coax into scoring. And not only did he not look great, was it the tying goal at 5-5 on Friday that he absolutely just like gave up on the play, and that's why they freaking scored? I don't know. Not to add insult to injury, because I know he did end up having to leave that game, but Erik Paulson might not be it.
Yeah, I don't think it is funny when I saw the line combos. I was like, this is it. We'll be 2 for 2 here, where Hoppy calls someone out, or at least not even call it, just say, hey, we'd like to see more, expect more. We know you can give more. And I was hoping we go back-to-back weeks where that would be successful. Not the case. I would say it was a complete.
I think he heard it. He heard it.
Yeah,
and
he literally
he's like, "Oh, you think you can
guys.
jinx me into playing good? I'll show you.
Watch this." I'm gonna start shooting on my own net, actually, for all intents and purposes.
So I'm probably oversimplifying it here, but he has disappointed me like to the max extent that I could be. I really thought this year would be better for him, especially with what we saw in juniors. Like, remove the fact of him playing with or without Beckett Hendrickson. Like, he looked like a real promising guy in junior. The guy that's impressed me almost as much as Paulson's disappointed me is Mason Moe. I did not expect this from him this year. I mean, who knows if I ever did, if I'm being honest. But he looks better and better most weeks, and I think there's plenty more room for him to go in the back half of this year. Do you just take the hot hand and throw him up with those two, or do you leave things alone because, like, the line he's playing on, plenty of action on their end too?
Right. I mean, you might give it one more. I mean, I guess the other thing is, I guess we're heading into the break.
Yeah, so there's not one more for another month.
Yeah, they're literally heading into the break. World Juniors is about to happen, so the roster is going to look significantly different even when they do come back. I mean, let's say they did have games this week. I'd probably at least leave for that first one, but at the same time, I think like Mo's just giving you like, it's just like plus after plus. But again, like, I mean, I don't know. I probably, if they had games this week, maybe game 1, keep it how it is. If you get absolutely nothing, or like Boston's legitimately like costing you, then you definitely make the switch. But I mean, I don't know. Like we know the ability is there. Like he can score. He's got skill. Like we know he's got the ability. It's just like it's been a very weird season for him. And the other problem too is like, I mean, we talked about the fucking schedule to start the season. When they return, it is like arguably equally as difficult, if not just like the way they just immediately roll out. Like it's almost like more.
It is actually more difficult. It is more difficult because the only softies in the schedule, they have also played on the front half.
Yes, exactly.
So you're taking the front half where like very difficult non-conference schedule, no question. But now they've got 4 top 10 teams that they play 1 or 2 series against. Awesome. And I mean, it is awesome with the position they put themselves in, because you have every opportunity to get yourself back into a tournament bid, even though yet again, Minnesota 0 votes in the poll. Important to note, Bemidji State got 6. So
this is blowing my mind.
Against them in January. Hey,
I meant to actually pull up to see what the rankings look like today, or see like if they got any votes or what other teams did give votes. No. So I mean, I've got specifically, I've got an opinion about one of the teams here in fucking Boston that should stop getting any votes whatsoever. Boston University, it is shocking. The only good thing about their team right now is their fucking play-by-play guys are outstanding. The most stereotypical Boston accents ever. But like, they were 18th coming into the weekend, and I was like, I don't know how you can keep this team a top fucking 20 team.
It's tough because for them, it is the roster. Like on paper, like if you Men in Black me and just wipe my memory and you show me all the rosters, I'm like, yeah, they're a top 5 team.
Yep.
And unlike the Gophers, they're 500.
Yeah.
They don't have a winning record, but they're 500. And that's good enough. Whereas the Gophers do still have a losing record. And that's, I'm sure, a big part of why. I still think it's crazy, some of the teams that are getting votes above them. But, I mean, we're splitting hairs for guys that are getting, like, 10 points in the votes. Like, who cares at that point?
Right. Yeah.
And honestly, Gophers needed to have all 6 points this weekend. If they take care of business, if they close out the game and they're up 5-4 on Friday, maybe they are getting a little bit more consideration. But they did it to themselves. It's a bummer. What can you do? But you mentioned it earlier, and we're going to pull it up right now for both Gopher and Minnesota Wild faithful. I feel like we might be the only podcast that has weekly discussions about Jimmy Clark. Am I right?
I feel like that has to be true. I don't really know where else.
And God bless his parents. Every time I post about him on Twitter, they both engage. It's awesome.
Hell yeah. That rocks. I love that.
Makes me very happy. But let's pull up the clip here. All right, talk to me here, Z. Just majestic as he gallops up the ice.
Yeah, I mean the drop pass then to who was that?
That was your boy.
That was my boy Beckett. But like another again, immediately gives him the puck right back, skating downhill. There is like right before he goes to the wraparound, there's that little deception with that little shoulder fake, as if he's either going to go short side or like go for a pass across, and then just like the ability to turn on the skates so hard and get the wraparound, like right there's that little shoulder fake with the stick handle. And obviously Sells gets the goaltender to bite full.
That was like an elbow shake.
Yeah, it is that. It's just like the little like dip of the shoulder, fake pass across, or am I going to go short side? Gets the goalie to bite, and I mean, by the time he pulls off the wraparound, he's got like a full foot to put the puck in. So that was just a beauty, and he's been. I mean, I'd have to look to see. I feel like he's got points, and it's like 5 or 6 of his last 7, maybe. And again, even when he's not scoring, there have been some really nice plays. And again, the line with him, Hendrickson, and Brody Lamb has been A+. And like you were calling for at the beginning of the year, or in the summer, really. But it's looked good.
But I'll say too, because like the scoring wasn't there for Jimmy earlier in the season. He's been playing the same hockey throughout. Like he has looked good. The difference is Lamb and Hendrickson have stepped up big. Lamb has looked a lot better recently. And I mean, take a second if you want and swoon about, I guess, Prince of Minnesota when you got Darby Hendrickson being what he is for the state of Minnesota. I want to know who is punching Beckett Hendrickson in the abs when the Gophers win. Someone's got to take that role on for me.
Yeah.
The coaches can't, because since he's a player, like assault, whatever. Yeah. Who would be the ideal one?
Be Rombach.
Rombach and Mooney at the same time.
At the same time as they form a Mega Man.
One mega person. But Brody Zemer was in his bag this weekend too. And it was one of those weekends where it was almost the opposite of what you said with LJ Mooney, where like when the Gophers had sustained pressure for quite some time, half of it was him just doing his thing. Brody was not as noticeable, and that's not in a bad way. Like he was just playing a solid 2-way game throughout, but when he popped, he just got to the right spots. whether it's just being open and letting LJ hit him on the tape and he rips it, whether it's setting someone else up. Like when he contributed, it was noticeable and it was usually resulting in a goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not, I mean, like, it is funny every once in a while, like, whether there's just something that happens, whether he gets popped, one of his teammates gets popped, or there's just like one little, it's like he's just the silent assassin where then all of a sudden, like, you could see his, like, he'll snap a little bit, but his response is always just like, give me the fucking puck. And please go ahead, try to like jump on my shoulders, try to drag me down. Like specifically one of the goals that he scored last year, we watched him in person against Michigan State. Forget which game it was, but he literally had like two guys just like draped all over him. And he was like, that's fine. You can stay on there, boys. Enjoy the ride. And just tucks. He is just, what's he up to now? I think he's got 12 maybe. Let's see here. Yeah, 12 goals, 19 points in 19 games. Finally, they've got a couple guys that are playing per game between him and Brody Lamb. For a while there, it was like nobody was even sniffing point per game. So that's always nice. But yeah, he's been a beast. I mean, also when he's just shooting the puck, that's also funny just looking at like the shot totals between like him. He's got 75 shots on net this season. Next closest, I think, has like 48, 49. And that is also Brody Lamb.
He's leading college hockey, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Or is he leading the Big Ten?
I think he might be leading college hockey. He is just like rifling the puck down. I'm like, there it is. They need to do that. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It would have been big to close out, get the sweep this weekend, and fresh slate going in. I mean, it is what it is, but they've kind of made their bed. They have to come out big in the second half if they want to have any chance of making the tournament, which again, like we've said about BU, BC, like great teams on paper. For some reason, a lot of them just aren't showing up.
Yeah. And I mean, it was funny. I went back and listened to just like some of Motzko's comments after the game, and someone did ask him. It was just like, are you, hopefully you'll get it. You know, like, I think they just were like, get healthy before, like, obviously it's gonna be a really tough stretch here this season. And he's like, well, I don't know how it could get like any more difficult than our start of the season, but yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy. And just to paint the picture, when they return, they have one exhibition game against Bemidji
and then
on January 2nd. Then this is they've got a series against Penn State, Michigan State, Wisconsin, and then Ohio State again. And then they somehow end up playing Michigan again in a couple weeks after that. I mean, it is just this is a cruel. Like, the schedule just seems cruel.
Yes, it does. And you talked about it. Bob Motzko. Not happy with the reffing.
Trying to ride the officials here for any advantage.
He's usually not shy about sharing his opinions with the refs.
I love when he gets fired up. Even now, when I was like, he's close. He's close to really popping off here. He wants to. It's like it's the forehead roll, like when he's starting to open his eyes wide, and then all you can just see the forehead roll. You're like,
when you said he's close, all I thought of is
I don't like where this is going.
Shane Gillis. Have you seen the clip with Rogan? Where he's like,
you're getting close.
You're getting close, and he just loses it. Anyone that knows the clip, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not going to explain it any further. But I mean, it's not looking awesome. I like the way the team's played of late, but like, you really have to show up and take care of business. You cannot get swept on the back half of the season, and you're going to need to get a decent amount of sweeps if you want to be in this conversation at all. And let's be clear, that means at home against Ohio State, you need to sweep. Going to Notre Dame, you need to sweep. And you probably got to sweep at least one more home series against the big dogs, and then you just can't get swept. You can't. And with that, with all the other teams that have yet to get into the depth of their schedules, like, things will shuffle out. Some teams will fall. Maybe you're in the mix, but it's
unbelievable to me that they have the same exact record as Penn State. Like that's like Penn State's just also been just.
I did not realize they had the same record.
I just pulled it up again because I was like, I'm trying to remind myself like how far off they are, and it's
what. Explain that to me then. Like how? No, they don't. They don't have the same record.
Oh wait,
Are you talking just conference?
Oh yeah, I was talking the conference. Sorry.
Yeah, no, dude. Penn State's 11-5. Gophers are 8-10.
Penn State, yeah, they've had a softy schedule. Hell yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing with people that talk about McKenna. Like, he should have come in and done something early with some of the cupcakes that they had scheduled. I think that's like outside view. I don't think it's necessarily that simple because like those are obviously the games where he's getting in and getting a feel for the league. But yeah, they have absolutely had. I think they have the most opposite non-conference schedule of the Gophers of any team.
Yeah, it's comical. Like, I remember I was watching them. I guess I can't really talk shit because I was about to bring up LIU. But they played both LIU. It played Arizona State. They had one other one that I was like, I can't believe this is counting on their schedule. But I was looking at the conference one. I was mentioning that they put the same record. But that's just
if the Gophers don't play the LIU series, does that like erase all of this?
Probably because that specifically
is that the only reason that they are not getting votes and they're outside the top 20?
Maybe. Like, I mean, in realistically, just that one game against LIU where like they're scoring from behind the red line, like it's just a complete shit show, and literally nothing is going right. I mean, that was legitimately just horrific. I would be shocked if we went and looked at like strength of schedule. I have to think they have the hardest schedule in the country this year. I think Moscow said as much. He was like he wanted them to have the hardest schedule in the country this year, which I was like, that feels bold. To have
like 7 more players.
I was like, that's bold. I mean, this year you wanted to do that. It's fine.
He thought that most of the guys would be back.
Yeah.
As we watch Oliver Moore go out and do the world a favor. I almost said favor by taking down Carter Hart early on in that game. You got you've got Matthew Wood, who is
first NHL hat trick a couple weeks ago,
scoring on command, like first NHL hat trick, and then has had a few goals since on an absolute. He's apparently the only bright spot for a dog shit Nashville team that's still beyond confusing to me. I still keep on wanting to believe that it's going to change, and it's not.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't really know what to do about it anymore. It's like, I mean, at that point, it's becoming your Iser plan, you know? Like, and it's only been a year and like a quarter. But like at the same time, it is only somehow getting astonishingly worse.
But yeah, I think the only guys he was really counting on losing were Jimmy and maybe Renzel.
Yep.
It's a very different team if you have Chesley, Oliver Moore, Matthew Wood, and the one that really shocked me was Connor Kurth.
Yeah.
Just him back does a lot.
Yeah, I mean, even if you could just look at some like especially with the injuries they've got, or some of the injuries they've had, like guys have been missing for a few games, but like the ability to like have a few more options mixing up the lines, specifically when we talked about like the whole Paulson thing. It's like if that's not working out, you have like one or two more of those guys, and it's like, all right, we've got. There wouldn't have even been a discussion, really, I guess, because that's where they would have been. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, on the back end too, they just need to keep the puck out of the net, and they need to kill penalties. The power play has been hot over the last. I checked again, like 10 of their 13 total power play goals this year come in the last like 7 or 8 games. Which is nuts to me that they were at one point like 3 for 40. Like, that feels bad. But the penalty kill, I think they're clipping like 64%, maybe. It's another one I just had up, and it's like, well, that's probably not. I don't think that's gonna do it, fellas. Yes, 642.
64% of the time, it works every time.
It's quite literally, yeah. But
well, Zemer will be on Team USA. We all got to keep our fingers crossed for LJ Mooney working his way in as well, as Team USA represents here on home soil. You can tell as we're recording this, we're watching the Minnesota versus Seattle game. And for an entire period, the only ads that they had on FanDuel Sports Network were to sell tickets for World Juniors. I don't think that that's going very well right now. I think a lot of it's got to do with Canadians not wanting to come here. So not ideal. But so, yeah.
And now it's 2-1.
I know. I saw that. Start looking, start scalping. I got to imagine there's going to be cheap tickets available. And it is extremely fun hockey to watch. Like, this is, I know it's Isha's Super Bowl, but like for us, it's very fun. I've never not enjoyed watching World Juniors. Obviously, I don't enjoy watching Team USA lose when that happens, but it is some very fun high event hockey.
Maybe we'll do some live streams during games, perhaps post-game stuff somewhere, some way.
We'll be doing something, but that'll do it. Go USA, Gophers. Maybe they figure it out. I'm
gonna get optimistic. Weirdly, oh my god, that was a fast response. 2-2. This is why we don't do this for the games. This is unbelievable. I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, I'm gonna get weirdly optimistic about the Gophers, so I might start gambling.
Zamboni's on 7th, restaurant and bar right across the street from Grand Casino Arena in downtown St. Paul. You'll find a joke at 8 p.m. on Wednesdays. Enjoy happy hour food and drink specials when you stop in for the shows. Or if you've got something to say and enjoy stepping into the spotlight, go to zambonison7th.com and sign up to join the show. Spots fill up fast, and they do cap the number of comedians each week, so do not delay. Also, stay tuned for details on their once-a-month Friday night comedy show, Freaky Funny Fridays, beginning Friday, November 21st, featuring some of the hottest comedians in the Twin Cities. Zamboni's on 7th is a joke, but only on Wednesday evenings. And the occasional Friday. You all rock. Appreciate you tuning in for yet another week of Fellowship of the Rink. Next week, we're going to be featuring Brandon Duham. Make sure you don't miss it. Guy's an absolute beauty. We don't need to tell you that, though. And again, continue to just let us know what we can be doing to change the show up, guests we can feature, topics you want us to tackle, and check out the SOTA Pod YouTube channel. We will be doing live streams and a lot of pre- and post-game content for all of the World Junior Championships here hosted in Minnesota. But we've also got highlight reels. We've got clips from all of the shows across our network, really hitting anything Minnesota hockey. And again, if there's something we're missing, you tell us. We've got no problem filling it. But until next week, appreciate all of you. Stay classy, stay hockey.